And what's happening, everyone? It's Kev from the Magpie 24/7 podcast. Hope you're all good. And yeah, it's the first podcast of the season. I know it's a second game, but I'll touch on it later in the podcast as to why. It's good to have you back, Paul. Back to what feels like normal. People back in grounds, back on the podcast and stuff. But
and Newcastle fucking your day up.
Yeah,
Things are normal.
Yeah, I was about to say there's one thing that feels the same, and that's very much a Newcastle United defeat under Steve Bruce. Lethargic, very much tacticless, boring pile of shit, really. As we'll lose 2-0 Aston Villa, 2 games played, 2 defeats, 19th in the Premier League, and a minus, I think it's a minus 4 goal difference. We've conceded 6 in 2 games to 2 mid-table sides, so nothing out of the ordinary.
10% of our goals that we conceded all of last season have been conceded in the opening 2 games after Steve Bruce comes out and says, how many charges of the defence? Absolute fucking clown, mate. And just like a clown needs a circus. And the club at the moment, mate, is like the circus, just travelling from town to town and town with joke performance after calamity, after fuck up. You just need literally the buckets full of paper and stuff and a unicycle, and the job would be complete. It's just literally so gutting, but I can't help but feel a great sense of deja vu in recording this particular podcast after recent seasons down at Villa Park, mate.
It feels identical, didn't it? I mean, I remember Tuesday night. I think
I remember that one as well.
Mid-table. Obviously, I went down with NFTV a couple of years ago, and recording that video, I did a similar video yesterday, and it just felt exactly the same kind of performance. We went down there, very little plan. The Villa fans chanted, "Brucey, what's the score?" We played shit. We didn't have anything for it, and Bruce ruled the lack of luck that we had.
The cabbage derby, mate. The cabbage derby.
For a manager of 20 plus years of experience,
900 games.
Over 900 games, I've never known a manager try to blame luck or go after the word luck as much as Steve Bruce does. It's actually baffling to me, like how luck is a massive part of the bloke's game plan every single week. It's actually mental. Sometimes luck comes through for him and we'll play shit and we'll get a result. But more often than not, mate, we'll get exposed. And we're getting more and more exposed. I mean,
you make your own luck, mate. You make your own luck, and this is what's really starting to not starting to piss me off because I was already pissed off. But a new season, you think fresh starts. We had a decent run toward the end of last season. We've made a good signing in Joe Willock, and I know you can argue that the squad's no stronger than what it was. In fact, it's probably weaker than last season. But, oh my word, I'm sick and tired about and banging about luck already. As I said, you make your own luck, and I just feel at the moment that he's missing the bigger picture. Yes, we've had 4 very dodgy VAR decisions over 2 games, and there's no doubt that that's had a bearing on the game. But where's Steve Bruce coming out straight away commenting about Jamal Lascelles' inability to play the ball out and just constantly slicing the ball out? Where is the debate about Jacob Murphy giving away needless free kicks and the defensive position, playing players out of position? How lethargic and uninterested the team looks. The lack of goal threat, 1 shot on target. Where's the talk about that? Where's the debate about Sean Longstaff and where that player's gone to and how he seems to be getting bruised and be getting worse all the time? There's other issues, mate, which are glaringly obvious to me, you, and everybody else. And you'd think a manager with 900 games experience under his belt would be able to see that. Where's the criticism of the players just going down the tunnel after the game? The majority of the players going down the tunnel after the game, not applauding the fantastic away support. You know what I mean? Where is Steve Bruce with regards to knocking down doors and strengthening the team? The team yesterday missed John Joe Shelby, and I shouldn't be saying that. The core of the team is still the same team that it was from the championship. Where is the debate and the talk about chronic lack of investment in the first team? Why are we still relying on John Joe Shelby? Why do we pick up so many injuries? These are things that I want to hear our manager talk about. I don't want to hear what it is like in the average day for Steve Bruce. Quite frankly, I couldn't give a flying fuck. I couldn't give a shit whether he's got bacon for breakfast. I couldn't give a damn, if he's having apple pie in the evening. I don't care if he's walking into work. What I want him to do is to manage this group, because I still think, mate, on paper and looking at the squad, we've got the core of a very, very decent side. And I think a good manager will be able to get 10 or 20%, 30% more out of these players. I think he is draining the life force out of them, and they are probably 20 to 30% under what they are capable of being able to do. And it's frustrating the life force out of me. Look, you make your own luck. Yes, the VAR, it doesn't excuse the VAR. It doesn't excuse the lack of a red card for that absolute disgusting challenge by the Villa keeper. But let's be 100% real. Aston Villa, despite missing several of the first team players, never got out of second gear, but looked a million miles more motivated and determined and organised and all that sort of thing. And they deserved the 3 points. We have got at the moment we've got what we deserve, and that is absolutely fuck all. Nothing. And the only light relief from the entire situation at the moment, mate, is I've just put a bit of a funny post up about Arsenal saying, come on, welcome to the club, come and sit next to us.
Join us.
Because because it's either Newcastle or Arsenal for banter club of the season. But yeah, so much for an easier start and a more difficult finish, mate, because the club's just in an absolute and utter disgraceful mess of their own making, 100% of their own making. Because yesterday, I can forgive anything, mate, but I want to see a shift getting put in, and I want to see a little bit of pride in the shirt. And I don't think we're doing that at the moment, to be honest.
Nah, mate, I don't think we are. I think it's a complete not a waste of time. The way, to be honest, sometimes it feels like a waste of time doing this podcast, because I feel like we're repeating the same stuff every week, and it's like, the worst thing is, I feel like I said that at least to you at least 2, 3, 4 times last season, where it was like we're saying the same stuff, even off camera. It's like, I don't know where what we can kind of say that's different, like what's gonna like make people like listen, kind of thing. And it's kind of, we're saying the same stuff every single week, and it's like,
and we want to be positive, mate. That's the thing. You don't want to be negative. We want the best for our club. But, we're talking about glaring, obvious issues at the club. And like I said, he bangs on about this experience that he's got at the clubs and stuff. And despite being in the twilight of his career, if you listen to the BBC Radio Newcastle interview, it is. I mean, people took the piss. People took the piss out of Joe Kinnear. You tell me how this man, this bumbling idiot, this buffoon in charge of the operations at the club, is any different to him, because he was a bumbling idiot and a fool and an embarrassment.
Almost.
And so is Steve Bruce. Is Steve Bruce. And, I must admit, I thought yesterday, I know it was my stepson's leaving duties, going to the army shortly. Yeah. And I still had, Jeff Stellon, I still looked at the match back. I thought we started quite reasonable. Obviously, Callum Wilson had that huge chance in the first half.
He did.
As soon as that went by, and we didn't really cause lots of problems, but we were okay. We were neat. We were tidy. We were moving it around a little bit. As soon as that went, the players looked devoid of confidence. There's no inspiration from the bench. We don't ever change shape, philosophy. And I look at Newcastle at the moment, mate, and it's very similar to Arsenal. Where is the plan? Are we signing under 24 players? Is that what we're looking for? Is the club for sale? Is it not for sale? Is there somebody else? The club never speaks. We don't know about its philosophy, so that leads to speculation, and it leads to a void
and toxicity.
And toxicity. The likes. I mean, look at the Grealish situation. If that happened at Newcastle, if Alan St-Maximin was sold, he would be sold, and Steve Bruce would get the brunt of it from the journalists. At Aston Villa, when they sold a key player, they didn't want to sell him, but they were like, look, there was this clause, but we already had a plan in place, and which we've activated really, really quickly, and we brought in X, Y, and Z, which we hope is going to improve the squad. We are going to look at some younger players as well to try and reinvest some of that money. And it was explained to the fan base. And that to me is good common sense leadership. It's good management, and it makes it feel unified. And the thing is, some people have said to me, it can't be unified while you've got Bruce. Well, I don't want to straight away, first podcast really of the season, and I'll mention Rafa, but when Rafa was here, it was still under the current ownership, but the man united the city, the fan base, the club all together.
That's one thing he did well.
He did so well, and people will say it's Rafa and it's his politics and he plays it really, really well. Well, I'm all for that, because there was at least some positivity. You looked at the bench, and there was always a plan, and there was always a way to get results out. I look now, mate, and the club is in an absolute clusterfuck of a position, because we're 2 games in, and it's already the best you can hope for, mate, is a relegation battle. To win a relegation battle yet again, and it's just like it's just not good enough for Newcastle United in my book.
I think the words clusterfuck does come to mind, mate, and you're completely bang on, because like I was speaking to the True Faith lads last week in a podcast that I did for a season preview, and I tried to explain to them what I'll try and emphasize on now, that you mentioned there Steve Bruce in his twilight before, like almost in his heyday, and like this is the best Steve Bruce can do. Like look over his career, mate. Look from when he started his managerial career at Huddersfield and Sheffield United.
Aye, I remember it.
In 25 years as a manager, he has never ever took a team forward. He's never took a team forward, mate. He's made them move sideways with investment, or he's completely fell off the bus and been sacked. The best Steve Bruce can do is keep us standing still. And from a results perspective, with 40 odd points in each of the 2 seasons, these full seasons he's had as Newcastle United manager, he's managed to keep us still. But what you've got to realise is, we've stood still because there's been investment in the team. Obviously, this summer's been really frustrating, but Steve Bruce has had near or thereabouts 200 to 220 million pound. Rafa didn't get anywhere near that, and he had to sell to buy as well, whereas Bruce doesn't.
You don't. The thing is that with the amount of quality free transfers there is, it still perplexes me over the Jeffrey Williams situation. We're struggling at fullback, and he seems determined to be able to play this free at the back and wing back system, despite the fact
which isn't working.
It's not working, and you've not got a plan B. But you've got Jeffrey Williams who would walk over hot coals, I believe, in order to play for the club again, who's available on a free transfer, and you just blatantly, despite saving over £200,000 a week on wages, even deduct Joe Willock's wages off that, it still leaves a lot of money spare in the wage budget. It doesn't have to be run like a pound shop. You don't have to have that basic mentality. There is good quality free transfers out there. There is some cracking loan players already available who could walk into Newcastle's first team, but he belittles every situation. He talks about waiting until the last day or two to pick up the scraps from the table, like with some sort of rodent or insect scrambling across the floor, or some sort of
It
dog.
doesn't motivate you. It doesn't.
No, it can't. You cannot be motivated by that. The only player that he sticks his neck out for on a consistent basis is Joe Linton. But then he says things like, "Well, he's not a central striker. He's more of a player that needs to play off somebody." And then what does he do in game management? He'll bring him on for Callum Wilson, and he'll leave Dwight Gale on the bench. It's like, oh you've just said he's not a striker. He's not a focal point striker. And then in your very next match, you're bringing him on as a focal point striker. It makes no sense.
He also said he's 24 and 25 in the same sentence, mate. Yeah. So that's what you get with Steve Bruce, a bit of brain dead activity.
Dwight Gale, I'm sick of him talking. And the thing is, even last season, me and you said on this podcast, mate, he's not good enough. He's the best what we've got available on the bench, but he's not good enough. Yeah. And there's so many players, mate, who are past their best before date. And I don't knock the service that a Dwight Gale's done or a John Joe Shelby's done, But on the same hand, mate,
investments needed, basically.
investment has been needed since this is season 5. Yet we're already 4 points behind Brentford, who are in their first ever season. It's no disrespect to Brentford, mate, but the name, the brand, the club, the support, the stadium, Newcastle United shouldn't be mixing and rumbling it up and looking up and thinking, shit, Brentford have already got a 4-point head start on us. We've got a difficult run-in at the end of the season. Oh, shit. You know, I'm sick and tired of Mike Ashley and Lee Charnley and Steve Bruce, it seems, playing roulette with the football club. It needs
total gamble, man.
It needs to stop because I just don't see. I mean, we've got probably the world's most boring cup match coming up with regards to Burnley at home. Sean Dyche versus Steve Bruce. It's hardly the clash of the Galacticos. We've got two sides shot of confidence, two very, very laboured, boring, not much on excitement there on show. And we've got flair players if they decide to turn it on, but under Bruce, they're not doing a great deal of that. And then if you lose that game, mate, that's your one hope of a cup, if you would like, gone.
Yeah, exactly.
So then you've got a relegation battle between now and the end of the season, and you've got a powder keg situation coming up against Southampton, who we said off camera before we came on today looked resilient. They looked like they were fighting, they were up for it. Fight. They will be no mugs. For those people who said, well, we've got West Ham and Villa and Southampton, well, we might have 9 points. At the moment, we don't look capable of beating anybody, but that's
9
because
9 points our G's now.
Yeah, looking at the lads, they don't look, and this is the biggest problem. If we'd have gone down swinging yesterday, mate, and if we'd have tried the substitutions, if we'd have tried the tactical changes, and we'd lost because of a couple of dodgy VAR decisions again, then you can say, look, Bruce has got some justification. But the top and bottom of it is, mate, where was the fight, the heart, the determination, the changes that we needed? There was nothing. The players looked defeated. As soon as we went behind, it was like, well, meh. And we can't be meh. And it wasn't until we went 2-0 down that we had a little bit of a go at it. But let's look at the home game, mate, against West Ham. You got 65 minutes on the clock, right? And for the last, nearly half an hour, we didn't lay a glove. And the concerning thing is for me, mate, we are not working the opposition goalkeeper at all.
And it's like,
and that should be for a person with 900 games experience. We're not scoring goals, we're shipping them. That is the recipe for relegation.
That's it, mate. Like, it's not like we're versing big teams either. Like, and like I know we get caught. Like, we get told we expect Champions League, we expect this, we expect us Newcastle fans. So right, no disrespect Aston Villa and West Ham, but a team of Newcastle's size should be expecting at least a win out of one of them 2 games. That, to me, for a team that's looking to strive to hit mid-table in the Premier League, shouldn't be too much to ask. Yet we've been bossed and outplayed by both of them. And we've got Southampton coming up in the league. We've got Man United coming up as well after that. So like, if we get beat off Southampton and we lose 3 games from 3, we're not going to beat Man United, mate. Not a fucking chance. Like, not a fucking chance.
No it could be a good start that game.
Like, Man United could well beat us by 5 or 6. I'm not even joking. Like, I'm shitting myself waiting to play them at Old Trafford. Like, if we get tickets and go, great, nice away day, but we're not gonna we're not gonna lay a glove on them, mate. We can't even touch Aston Villa.
Mate,
West Ham blew off the park without Lingard, the best player from last season.
It could even They beat us fair and square, West Ham, right? I'll hold my hands up. Even when we were winning at half time, I said to you at half time, how the fuck are we winning this game?
We're lucky to be 1-1.
We were lucky shit. And when I said if it continues to rely on luck, it won't hold out. We'll end up losing the game. And that we did. And yes, it was 4, mate, but it could have been 6 or 7. It really could have been.
How many times was that down to Steve Bruce? So, mate, lucky to not concede 6 or 7 a game. It's just, and he's the one working on the defence. It's absolutely insane. Like, the starting team, I cannot argue with the starting team, but what I will argue with is the is the formation, the structure. It's just not there. You can tell Steve Bruce is working on the defence because we're open. Plans to eradicate the problems in the defence weren't fixed at West Ham, and the same problems that Villa exploited were there again. Get Murphy out of position, which is easy. You just get a 1-2 around him, pulls the centre back out of position. There you've got a free wing, no problem in behind. And they did that time and time and time again. I mean, the one chance we did have in the first half, mate, was through Callum Wilson, which I thought he was offside when it first happened, and I thought that just kind of stopped. But I kind of looked at it in half interested anyway because of VAR and stuff. You don't really look at them chances anymore. It's kind of, is he offside? If he scores, oh well. But like, for me, Callum Wilson, you bet your house on to score that type of chance.
You would,
and
yeah.
Let's be honest, like, in terms of like the chances we've looked at over the years, when Callum Wilson has had a one-on-one, he's had, I think that's the first one he's missed in a Newcastle shirt. As disappointing as it is, he won't miss the next one he gets. So for me, it's kind of a let him off kind of thing. I realise there'll be a couple listening now going, well, if it was fucking Joel and you'd be putting his head on a pike, you're probably right. I would put his head on a pike, because how many times has Joel Linton had a one-on-one since he's signed?
Yeah, exactly. You know, the thing is with Joe Linton, if you're playing Spurs, brilliant. He loves to play against Spurs.
We're playing Tottenham, right now, brother.
Yeah, but like the thing is, you know, with Callum Wilson in the next match, he will get an opportunity and he will score. You know, he's if he stays fit, he's going to score somewhere between 10 and 15 goals easily, I think. So there's no issues and no problems there. But we're going into a season, mate, and this is the clusterfuck of a situation that we're in. There's players who haven't had enough minutes. So that's down to injury management, poor choices, rushing players, playing them in games they don't need to, this, that, and the other, a whole range of different reasons. When you're back training, not having games at the same time, it's just an absolute, again, mess and an embarrassment that, you know, I just thought, again, in the match, after about 20 minutes when I watched it back, we looked unfit. And it's like, you can tell the players who haven't had the minutes pre-season, but it's like, what are you doing in training to be able to rectify this? This is so embarrassing, because like I touched on before, I still maintain there's a good core of a team there, but it's formations. I mean, look at Mickey, right? When Mickey came, he first came into that team, he was played as a part of a three up top, and he looked different gravy. When he goes and plays internationally, he plays as a 10. He looks different gravy. Then he comes back to Newcastle, and in Bruce's warped mind, remember, he doesn't do tactics or anything, he's putting him as a central midfielder, and he's justifying it on radio saying he can play alongside. Well, no, he can't. Stop reinventing the wheel. You wouldn't ask a giraffe to go and swim in the sea. You wouldn't ask a fish to go climbing up a tree and eat the leaves in the tree. Stop being fucking. You're like, it's like dementia or something.
It's like a crying.
Yeah, and you're like, surely to God, one of your coaches, who you say you trust really well, has to say something. We need to play square pegs in square holes. Miguel Almiron is not a deep line playmaker. He's not going to be able to do that. We can't have Alan St-Maximin picking the ball off our defenders within 2 yards and having to take on everybody and do a classic Hatton Ben Arthur against Bolton to be able to knock the ball in the net. We need him
halfway. Yeah.
So we can't keep relying on wonder goals, St-Maximin magic, and the likes. We need to really nail down the position and look at each game individually and tailor and nurture the formation to suit the opposition, because all that's happening is when people are playing Newcastle, we're going, I tell you what we're going to do, lads. We're going to get tricky players in and we're going to play, like you said, behind Murphy, behind Ritchie, because they are midfielders playing as wing-backs and they are pretty bad going back. But Newcastle need to look at maybe utilising Isaac Hayden to cover in the two different gaps, because at times against, say, West Ham, you had Hayden as your most further forward midfielder, and even at one point in the game, when I watched it back, I saw Isaac Hayden going over to Bruce in the second half and saying, what the fuck is going on? I haven't got a clue. What are you asking me to do? What do you want to do? You're making a lot of noise, a lot of hell air. What are you wanting me to do? Isaac Hayden can't pass a ball forward. He struggles passing the ball sideways, but what he is big and brave. He'll put his body on
And
the
he'll
line.
win a tackle. Yeah.
And he'll win a tackle. So put him down at the base of the midfield. Have him drop in. So if Murphy's bombing on to get across him, which he's fantastic at doing, that's his real strength. Have Isaac Hayden fill in on that side, so we're not getting done like a kipper. Don't leave Murphy one-on-one, because again we saw, especially in our new seats in the Gallagher, they were just literally playing triangles around him. It was embarrassing, but again, you're looking from the bench. I'm looking for a bit of leadership, a bit of guidance, a bit of help, and I'm not seeing anything. And it's left to Jacob Murphy to sort out. It was left to Isaac Hayden to sort out. It was left to Matt Ritchie to sort out, and they're not sorting it out. So
No.
it's so
Again,
frustrating, mate. It's
like,
the same shit constantly.
It is. I mean, there's so much to dissect with what you said. I mean, like you mentioned the fitness about 4 minutes ago.
20 minutes is all they've got.
The thing is, though, mate, like you can't even blame pre-season, because we were having this exact same discussion in February of this year when we were talking about how unfit we looked after 50, 60 minutes when we played Leeds, or how unfit we looked after 50, 60 minutes against Wolves.
But we're not even getting 50, 60 now, mate.
Like, can you imagine, like today, the way football is, and like how it's all athletic, like the players have to be top of the range athletically, and we're talking about, it's a genuine discussion among Newcastle fans. How many times do we train a week? How many times does Steve Bruce take this team to training? That's a genuine discussion in 2021. Like, that in itself is an utter embarrassment of football in terms of like today's standards, because every team trains 4 or 5 times a week. And we're talking about, do they even train? Do we even look able to train? Or we're fit enough to train? So like, you can hide behind pre-season or hide behind COVID all he wants, but at the end of the day, mate, like, this has been going on since he came in. Like,
but then it's crazy, because then he comes out with, oh, we've only got 25 players, so we've pretty much got to stick with what we've got, which must give Ashley an absolute major stiffy, because we don't need to spend any money. It's all right. But the thing is, he never thinks outside of the box, because he's on about registering 4 players, mate, right? 4 players to cover one job, of a goalkeeper.
Yeah.
You've got Woodman, you've got Gillespie, you've got Dubravka and Dallo. You only need 3 keepers, and I would argue you need your youth keepers then after that. If you get through your first 3 keepers, you are really unlucky. We can't afford 4 places out of the 25-man squad for that one position. And I just feel that we need every outfield player that we can get. This is the man that thinks we've got enough strike power and enough cover for when Callum Wilson gets his inevitable injury, for when Alan St-Maximin gets his inevitable injury, like they do season in, season out. And it's just a bafflement, because you'd see that and think, right, the players are struggling with the fitness. I need more options from the bench. I need different things. So, right, I don't really trust Sean Longstaff. I don't rate him or whatever. Swap him then. Get somebody in who you do trust and who you do rate. And if you're looking at it, right, I need another striker.
I wouldn't trust Steve Bruce with that, mate. The last time we trusted him with a midfield was Jeff fucking Hendrick.
Oh, I know. And that's another one. I mean,
he didn't want Willett. He wanted Chowdhury.
Yeah, I says, honestly, if you're struggling for squad places, there is some absolute right chafe there. And what we're talking about, well, we're open to offers. Nobody's going to offer money for Jeff Hendrick. Are you off your tits? The only 2 people.
We'd have to pay them.
The only 2. I have to bite myself, like, literally hard to remember the fact that didn't he go for £10 million once? He went for major money once, but the only 2 managers who seem to rate him are going to be meeting on Tuesday night. Sean Dyche and Steve Bruce. Literally, if you're looking at it thinking I'm struggling for places, I'd look at him and say, right, you're not worth a place. I can't justify using a place. It's common sense, mate. You don't use 4 players to cover goalkeeping. You say to one of Darlow or Dubravka, look, Darlow, you've been injured now for the best part of 8-9 months. You've lost several stone in weight. I'm going to allow you till January to get yourself sorted, get your fitness back. I'm not any pressure on getting you back. I want you to get your health better. I want you to get fit in yourself. I want you to beat COVID. Yeah. We'll sort it in January. We can't afford for you to be injured between now and whenever November, December time, using up a valuable place. If Dubravka's back in possibly a month and a half, right, you're the one who's going to be able to get fitter first. So I'm going to have Dubravka, Gillespie, and Woodman. Those are going to be my three. I've got youth keepers there, and I can address this situation again in January to see if Darlow's coming, because there's no guarantees with this COVID stuff that he will. And I'm worrying that if we get another outbreak, again, we need options. Where's our midfield options, mate? What have we got in central midfield? John Joe Shelby, Willock, Hayden. That's a lot. Now, John Joe will be injured for ages. Hayden likes to pick up an injury as well. It puts a lot of pressure onto Joe Willock. And I still think he needs somebody to complement him. An athletic, powerful, type player in there. A real warrior who can do a lot of the donkey work for him.
Yeah.
We don't have enough options in there. And this madman is on about limiting the options by using up a space for another goalkeeper. We don't need two injured goalkeepers registered.
We need another midfielder, to be honest.
Pick one.
Midfielder, striker.
Pick one, and then bring in a midfielder, bring in a striker. Swap. Can we send Jeff Hendrick out on loan? Because he's going to offer us nothing, let's face it. Nothing at all. Can we get a loan move sorted for him? Can we do something on it? Then can we bring in somebody else? We've got two loans that we're able to make. You've got a Ross Barkley. Why would we need to wait till the last 3 or 4 days of the window to know that Ross Barkley doesn't have a future at Chelsea? He hasn't got a squad number. He's not involved in any of the squads. He's not going to be registered. So make a move now, because if you wait, you've played another game or two, and that's more potential missed points. Every game is precious to try and win the point. If we don't get the points, we are going to go down. And it's so frustrating that this man with 900 games can't see the absolute fucking obvious.
Yeah.
It just literally boils my piss. He's the definition of an oxygen thief with regards to management, but he's in the same basket for me now as your Joe Kinnear. He's a joke appointment. He's a joke, and it's a joke that we don't even know when it'll end, mate. I thought it was going to be this was the last season of Bruce.
No.
He's got a rolling contract. Which tit give him that? The same tit who just had a 300% pay rise. Give me fucking strength at Newcastle, man. Honestly,
it is, mate. Like we're half an hour in, and yet again we're like not speaking about the match. Again, it's just like
because there's no football
to talk about. There's no football. It's anti-football. It's football terrorism almost. It's absolutely shit, man. Like, I'd love to come on here and be able to talk about how well we played, or how good certain players have been, or like in individual performances of brilliance. And even then, it was only a handful of times last season we could even do that. And it's like, I just want to be able to watch Newcastle play well. And how many times under Steve Bruce since he was appointed have we had good performances, mate? You can count it on one hand. It's probably 2 or 3. It's it's absolutely shambolic, mate. And it's just like, the thing is, we can talk about Bruce out and put in a catchy title or whatever we could do, but like, there's no point, because we could lose the next 5 games comfortably and he'd still be in a job, mate.
Yeah.
We could lose the next 10 games comfortably, be root at the fucking table, and he'd still be in a job. Like, that to me is borderline. It's just shocking. Like, I was speaking to Alex Hurst last week, and he spoke to Lee Charnley in the past because he was head of the trust and stuff.
Yeah.
And Lee Charnley, like, from what Alex was saying to me, Lee Charnley is happy with where we are as a club. They're happy with Steve Bruce because we're staying in the Premier League. We're
not going to this season.
Get a couple of decent results in a season, and the books are all right. And it's just like, do you wake up in the morning and just see like, and you see happy with the way this club's run? Because if Lee Charnley wakes up in the morning, finishes work of a night time, and thinks Newcastle are genuinely well run, he needs shot.
He needs help.
He does. I just can't comprehend a man who thinks Newcastle United is well run. It's absolutely insane to me. Yeah. Just like these pundits, like, these football pundits, will call them, like Simon Jordan and people like that, who back Steve Bruce every week when he starts to get a little bit of criticism. It's just
Well, they'll be straight out, mate. Honestly, they'll be like rats up a fucking drain pipe. As soon as we do get a win, no matter how we get that win, and this is the thing, it doesn't matter whether it comes off Joe Linton's arse in the 95th minute, whether there's been 10 disallowed goals by the opposition, however that victory comes, they will get out their wank sock, and that will be it. It'll be like a scene of American Pie with Jim and his dad in the kitchen with the fucking, the fucking pie man. You know exactly what's going to be going on. It's just vile. Meanwhile, all reasonable Newcastle supporters, the actual paying punters who watch this shit week in and week out, and I'm not on about Jim and his fucking apple pie. We actually watch the football on the park week in, week out, and we can see the absolute piles of shit that is going on at the club. We can see the problems. We can see the worries. We are emotionally connected to the club. We don't want to be negative. We would much rather be positive. I think about our best podcasts that always are the positive ones after the good results.
Well, that's it, mate, though.
Too far, like stretched out. It really, really is. And if, like I said, if the Southampton and this Burnley game coming up don't go well for Newcastle, we are right on the wall. And at any other club, I mean, last season, what was it? 12 games we went without a win. And at any other football club in the Premier League, he would have been out of the top.
Mate. 2 wins in 24 games. That for any club in the country, it's
we're supposed to be Premier League. And I put down. I did a quick thoughts type video on the other one, and I put jumpers for goalposts because that's what it looks like. It doesn't look as if there's any sort of tactics and planning. It just looks as if it is jumpers for goalposts. And I've seen people jump on Woodman's back. It's not Woodman. If you are going to invite crosses in, mate, the way that West Ham were absolutely, we were there, right? We were down in the corner, right? And West Ham were pumping crosses in all day long, and there wasn't anything done by the coaches to stop that situation. And the thing is, if you keep inviting it on, I don't care whether it's Manchester United, whether it's Chelsea, whether it's Manchester City, or whether it's Brentford or anybody else, or Norwich. If you keep inviting the trouble on, mate, eventually trouble will find you. I just think that we're running a severe risk of running out of luck as a football club. Time and time again, we've spun the roulette wheel, and I just think this potentially could be our luck up, because it's just getting worse. And as people have touched upon on social media, if you look at it, yes, we've signed Joe Willock. That's a fantastic piece of business. Well done, fantastic. Brownie points there. But we are still weaker than last year. We've got Andy Carroll, and I've heard people say, well, Andy Carroll didn't do anything for us. We've got rid of him. It's nothing. Well, if Andy Carroll was nothing, right? Why did we sign him in the first fucking place? Why did we waste wages on him in the first place if he's just a nothing? He should be replaced. He should be replaced. It beggars belief. If you take one argument and you go another level down, we'll just say, well, why is that? If we signed Andy Carroll in the first place, he needs replacing. It's as simple as that. And the club needs to come out and speak with the fans and say what the transfer priorities is and how the club are operating. Yeah. If we, like I say, if we go back to under 24s, if there's any chance of a takeover this season, the fans need to be kept in the loop. And I'm sorry, but they don't, and it should be setting the alarm bell. It should be setting the alarm bells off. I know what the Premier League's trying to fuck us over. I agree with what Steve Bruce is saying, totally. But I just think there's other issues that the club aren't speaking about, or Steve Bruce isn't speaking about, that do need to be tackled. Jamal Lascelles, why do you consistently 47 minutes? Why do you just love to slice the ball out? Why are we having 11 men back in the box, and still there's somebody there with all the freedom of Birmingham to score the goal? Why aren't you worried about that? Why are you worried about that?
That's it. Defensive side.
Forget about it.
The defensive side that Steve Bruce has been dealing with. Aston Villa get a throw in, goes into the box, headed out poorly, and then it ends up with the feet. It's a great finish by Danny Ings. I'm not taking anything away. Fantastic finish by Danny Ings, but Shea gives him space, and as you say, it's the freedom of Birmingham, his own postcode, and the whole team's in the box, mate. But fair enough if you say that's a one-time thing. Happened to Villa last year, mate. I think it was El Ghazi or Trezeguet scored against Will last season, and yet again the whole defence was in the box, all 11 players, all of them, and it's just like it's a case of Newcastle United aren't learning lessons because we've got Steve Bruce in charge. We're never ever going to learn anything under this manager. But what can we do? Because they're not going to sack them. If they were going to sack them, they would have sacked them at various points last season. We're going to have to be bottom by some distance at Christmas for the club to make a move, and it's just like, is it damage limitations? You want to like get relegated to a different manager?
You've got Eddie Howe for free. He knows half the bloody squad.
Frank Lampard free.
Half the squad before. And I'm saying, the thing is, if you've got Steve Bruce, you could well be relegated. Roll the dice. You like to gamble, Mike Ashley. You like to gamble with the club league, Charlie. Well, have a gamble, take a punt on somebody being able to come in and actually coach the players to be better and actually pick up on the faults. And again, not want to bang on about Rafa Benitez, but he used to, you would see him. We've followed the team up and down the country. He would micromanage, even if we just scored a goal. He'd be like, look, you need to do this better. What have I been going on about? And he would pick out, like the fact about the space in between, in between the fullbacks. He would have a plan. He would micromanage it. But the thing is, there's not even management at the moment. Never mind micromanagement.
It's just structured mess at this point.
It's just an absolute, like, you come back to it, clusterfuck. The club is a clusterfuck. We've got players, I wouldn't say they're over the hill, but they've got a fucking cracking view of the valley. And I just think you're looking at some of these lads, and it's like, it's just devoid. It's emptier than an empty cup sitting on your desk. It is that level of the lights are on, but nobody's home. It's got to be a conveyor belt. It's got to be a process of continuously buying and selling and trading players and bringing in younger players and investing in the academy and bringing up and cherry picking one or two. We can't even do that. Elliot Anderson's missing in action with an unspecified injury. We don't know when Elliot Anderson's going to be back. There's no seemingly plan for White, who has impressed me over pre-season, mate. He's got a wicked left foot. Engine puts himself about. I like a lot of the look.
Surprisingly not on the bench at the weekend.
Yeah. Why not incorporate some of these younger players and give them a chance and an opportunity? Look, we're 2-0 down, 5-10 minutes left. Put them on, experience what it's like, experience the pain, the hardship. Who knows? But I just think this game, mate, there was an acceptance. Oh, we're happy just to leave with 2-0.
Well, how many times did you say that last season, mate?
Exactly.
Literally the quotation you used last season. Exactly. The quotation you used a few times last season was, we can lose, but not by too many. That's literally what it was. Yeah. And like, obviously we can touch on Bruce's get out clause for the week, which is the VAR. But yeah, VAR, but Villa's penalty, after looking at it back, was a penalty, even though David Coote, in terms of a refereeing performance the other day, was nothing short of absolutely fucking useless. The amount of decisions he gave.
I'll tell you what I've called him.
Yeah. I was just about to say, it doesn't rhyme with a certain thing. But absolutely embarrassing, mate. And like this, like the handball I can understand, right? But the one thing I can't and won't understand is the offside decision. Basically, Martinez kicks. I think I've seen a similar kick. I've seen like Shinsuke Nakamura, and Sheamus, or Shawn Michaels, like Chandler meeting at WWE. I've seen kicks similar to that in WWE, and Flippin' Martinez levels Wilson with this kick, and instead of sending him off, which it was a red card offence, don't care if it was offside or not, he should be sent off for that. They go to VAR. Apparently, they're going to favour the strikers this year. Favour them, yes, favour. Favour. we're in line, and like the thing that's been compared to this season is Man United's against Leeds last week, and it was very similar, very tight. Man, you get one, we do not, and it's just like, is it what?
Callum Wilson needs to size 16 shoes.
The thing is, we need to question the consistency of VAR, because you can't have one thing that you can't have two of the exact same thing and one go one way and one go another. It's just not good.
It was supposed to eradicate this, mate. Technology was supposed to eradicate this particular problem. And as soon as I saw lines being drawn from arms, from feet, you're looking at the pictures that have been provided, and it looks like he's got literally
in line.
Like elephant feet. His feet are like literally like size 16 plus feet, and the other players are all nice. And it's just, you can see by the line, it's the player at the far side that is playing on Callum Wilson. It's not offside. So much for the lines are supposed to be bigger and this, that, and the other. I understand Bruce's frustrations over this. I personally think with the Lascelles handball, yeah, it probably was, but it's soft at best. Where's he supposed to put his hands when he's jumping? It is a major, to me, if you move your hand to where the ball's going deliberately, it should be a penalty. It should get you into bother. But there's far too much stupidity over that particular rule. It needs some common sense applying to it. And as for the offside, it was perfectly onside. I didn't need a replay. When I saw it back straight away, it was like it's perfectly onside. He's timed brilliantly,
and they still give it against.
You want goals? That should be the product that you're trying to sell the Premier League to the world, is on goals, on scoring goals. It's not having a close up of David Cunt looking at a fucking monitor constantly. It was absolutely criminal, but I will stress it wasn't the reason that we lost this football match. We lost the football match because we were shit defensively and we didn't give a fuck. The team didn't give a fuck.
I mean, in terms of performances, I think Woodman's getting a lot of unneeded criticism. To be fair, mate, I think Woodman looks all right. I know he's conceded 6 in 2 games, but the defence has been pretty shit. So for me, I think Woodman has done all right. Is he good enough to be a first-team Premier League goalkeeper? I think in a season or two, maybe. But sure, he looks comfortable in possession. He looks like he can control his area very well. So definitely one for the future. I know we've said in the past we'll get rid of him, but I'll get rid of Darlow personally, because I think Woodman is a better goalkeeper than Darlow.
I know Mick Laws was saying the same. He said, look, potential-wise, if you're looking at all of the goalkeepers, Woodman will be a better keeper than even Dubravka in a couple of years' times. And that is a compliment. And he's seen good goalkeepers. He's seen your Shea Gibbons. He's seen your Pavs. He got even your Shaka Hazlops, your Tim Krulls.
We've even seen glimpses now, mate, where he's had one-on-one situations and he's knew exactly where to be. Maybe 23, 24, but very experienced head on the shoulders. So they need to consider Freddie Woodman. They cannot not consider Freddie Woodman. So for me, he's earned a little bit of respect in terms of credibility, because I think he could do a very similar job to what Darlow did at the front end of last season for us. Just obviously Dubravka's a high-end level goalkeeper, and there's nothing wrong with that. But in terms of VAR, though, mate, it's obviously no.
Just switch it off. Rewind. Switch it off.
I think I'm a bit switched off because I'm on about like standout players. I thought Willock played well. He made 2 really good chances. He obviously played the ball over to Wilson for the missed chance, and same again for the penalty that wasn't a penalty apparently. But in terms of that, mate, a lot of shocking performances. Need to start questioning Murphy. Like, I know he scored last week, but Murphy is a right wing back. Is not a right wing back. If he's a right wing back, I'm an astronaut. Matt Ritchie, I think we need to start questioning him a little bit. I know he works hard, I know he tries, but positionally, left wing back, mate, he's absolutely terrible at the minute.
Yeah,
he's a fault for 3 goals at West Ham last week. And he still started.
Last season, when there was no fans in the ground, I think we benefited from the leadership of a Matt Ritchie out there on the park. But I think with the fans being back, that should be motivation enough. They shouldn't need a cheerleader to
get them going.
To G them up and to get them going. We've got Jamal Lewis, who sat on the bench, who's not done much for us, not been given many opportunities. And I would still say that Javier Manquillo, a more specialised right-sided, more defensive player. And to be fair, even with Manquillo, we've said before, when he gets forward, he can put in a decent cross. And I'm not taking anything away from Jacob Murphy, because I think he's been our best player of pre-season certainly. But again, unless you're going to play somebody like Hayden, who's going to look back and think the ball's coming over to this side, I can see that Jacob Murphy's further up. I want to fill in for him. I want to fill in and do that defensive side of the work. Unless you're going to get somebody like that who's going to go from side to side and just fill the gaps up on either side, it isn't going to work, because if John Joe Shelby's at the pivot, he's not going to do that. He's not got the mobility. Joe Willock is thinking, I want to get forward. I want to make them late runs. He's not going to fill in. He does
very well.
So you've only got, I would say, Isaac Hayden, who could offer you that in the squad at the moment. Jeff Hendrick, for those of you saying, well, Jeff Hendrick shouldn't be handing out water bottles. He's literally...
he can't hand out passes, can he? He's flipping shit.
Yeah, exactly. So to me, the only option we've got, if you want to stick with a three at the back, with the two wing backs, is to put one of them in. I don't think Emil Kraft is the answer as well for anybody suggesting that.
What about Jamal Lewis, so Paul? Because there's got to be an argument made for Lewis, because he'd be perfect for the wing back role if we can tap into his potential. But so far, it's been nothing more than a Bruce project.
Yeah, and again, I mean, I saw him. I think it was against Rotherham, and defensively, he again got done like a kipper on umpteen different occasions. But he is the player that the club has invested in heavily to be the answer going forward long term. But again, I would say, look, if he's not going to get in the team regular with the money that we're paying him and the transfer fee that we dished out, extend his contract by a year and send him out to loan to learn his trade a little bit more, get that first team football. Bring a Jeffro Williams in. Matt Ritchie wants to be away. He wants to be back down to Bournemouth. If he does so, with the greatest of respect and thanks for his fantastic service, it's not because we're sat behind the corner flags these days. It's not any of that. But if he doesn't want to be there, then let him move on. Bring in a Jeffro Williams. He's available for nothing. He's got the experience. He can hit the ground running. And people are saying about visas and stuff. There's ways and means around it. If you really want to do the deal, a deal can definitely be done.
Of course it can, mate, but the club really don't want to do it.
I think outside the box a little. I'm not asking Newcastle to go out and, I mean, Spurs today are being linked with Cristiano Ronaldo of all things. I'm not asking for stupid signings. Nobody's asking the club to go out and compete to sign a Messi. Nobody's even going out for Newcastle to sign the likes of a Tammy Abraham. What we're asking for is just a little bit of common sense and a squad fit for purpose, and it is showing signs of progression. So a Jeffro Williams coming in as your new left wing back solves your problem defensively because he's a unit and can get back. And look at the Liverpool situation. I think it was Man City as well. He can get forward and score a goal. Yeah. Common sense, but nobody's got it at Newcastle.
That's the problem, though, isn't it, mate? Graham Jones is the only one that seems like there's half a light twitched on. The rest of the coaching team are fit as fuck. Evidently looking at the team that we've got, but like to wrap up, mate, like I just don't know where we go as a club from here. Do we just kind of zombie walk through the season? Do we start picking up results? Like, in terms of a solution, like the only solution I can really think of is Newcastle getting this takeover. And the problem is, mate, like, how many more times are we going to say this season? Because even when we win games, it just feels like a plaster's going over the crack for a week, and then it'll just be peeled off again when we lose a game, when we feel negative about the situation. So I just don't know. I'm numb to it almost, mate. It's a miserable time being a fan. Miserable.
It's like getting a house and find it's got cracks on the walls, and then we'll stick a bit of anaglypta over the top, a bit of wood chip, and nobody will be any of the wiser. We can't keep constantly looking for the temporary solution. We are desperate for a takeover. And there is rumours that, I mean, Pete from Sky Sports News put something out there, and people have jumped on it, but I think you are literally trying to grasp for like an ant's knob. I really do, because I Ashley doesn't give a fuck. Ashley doesn't seem in any great hurry. Ashley doesn't seem to see the problem. He is winding down his business at Empire. He's ready to hand it over. He's ready to piss off to Miami. That's his retirement plan. And we don't figure. He's put the keys in an envelope and he really doesn't give a shit who runs the club. And that's the status quo. But that's the answer. We need a takeover, and we need competent leadership and competent management. I've seen people talking about a USA consortium led by potentially somebody like Richard Scudamore getting into bed with Amanda Staveley and getting into bed with the Rubens potentially and making up a new one, getting rid of the Saudi PIF side of it. I've seen all sorts of things, but again, this is why the club, I know there's confidentiality, but it's our club and you are the custodians. You need to communicate with the fan base and let us know what is happening at our football club, because at the moment it is like a house on fire, and you're just constantly going up and firefighting in one area and then firefighting in the other, and the house in the meantime is still burning down. And it's just so low. I don't know what the answer is, because we need to take over. But who's got £300 million, mate, to give to him? If he cared about the football club like he says that he does, I want the best for Newcastle. You don't. You want the best for your bank balance, and you want the best for your retirement. You're not interested in running Newcastle United as a business or a football club. Shocking.
No, he's not. It's just where the sufferers of it, mate. Us as the fans, all the way, everybody listening, everybody on Twitter, everybody who supports Newcastle United suffer as a result of it, because we're the ones that are questioning whether it's worth going to have season tickets, questioning whether it's worth supporting the club anymore. I mean, even
just thank you, Premier League. Thank you, Premier League, for saving us. I was just thinking after the last game. Thank you. My heart goes out to
Masters. We would be in such a worse state now. I mean, you know what I mean? It makes us sick, mate. It really does. It's embarrassing.
Dick Master. I really appreciate you.
Many thanks to the Premier League. Really appreciate it. But in terms of the football, mate, I don't really think there's much else. I'm struggling. No. Like I just feel like, honestly, we could re-release this podcast about 25 times this season, and people could pass it off as that's what happened. Yeah. It's like
the only thing, mate, we can do to finish off today is to say that I wasn't impressed by the lads after that pitiful, pathetic, limp, half-hearted performance to scramble down into the tunnel with this literally the most pathetic thank you to a fantastic, loud travelling support. It's not on. Joe Willock came down and passed his shirt on and stuff. One or two did, but the majority, mate, were too embarrassed and just pissed off down the tunnel. Well, I'm sorry, if you're going to put a lackluster performance in for those fans, at least have the balls to be able to face the away end.
Because they've travelled down first proper away day after COVID and that as well.
Disgusting.
Severe amount of disrespect in it. But for me, in terms of football, I can't think of anything else, mate. But to wrap up the podcast, obviously we didn't have the first podcast last week. Paul kind of did a review, and it's just for those that didn't catch me review from yesterday, because I mentioned it there. Basically, I had a death in the family last week, and it was me dad-in-law, my stepdad, and he was a massive fan of Newcastle and stuff, and it was and to lose him a couple of days before the start of the season, it was particularly tough. I went to the game, me and Paul went to the game, watched the match and stuff, West Ham, but I just didn't feel up to it, because I wanted Newcastle to beat West Ham for Martin, and they kind of didn't, and I just felt proper shit at the end of the day. Like, I know a lot of you listen to the podcast and you enjoy it and stuff, just that day, man, I just could not be harassed. Usually I walk with Paul to Central Station and see him off they see him off on his way to back down to Barnsley, but I just wanted to get home and get out of the way that day. So just could not be in that.
Yeah, we thought he was going to be doing it, didn't we? We thought that the lads were going to be doing it in his honour, and there was, I think, a lot of emotion and passion. We sang. I think my voice had gone for days. I did a view from the van a couple of days afterwards. My voice still wasn't right, and they couldn't say to get the result out. It was particularly raw for you, and it's been difficult, hasn't it? It's been a difficult time, mate.
It hasn't been an ideal couple of days, mate. It's been really strange. Because usually would speak about the match and stuff, because he's massive Newcastle supporter and stuff, and it was just
he's in the comments a lot. He was in the comments all the time.
He was. He used to chat with us a lot online and stuff, and obviously I used to in person a lot. But just it proper hit us hard, man. So I can only apologise to those who were avid listeners of the podcast and were kind of wondering where the first one was of the season. Like, because I know the team shit and stuff, but I know there's a few of you that really enjoy the podcast and enjoy listening to what we've got to say and stuff, and we really appreciate that. Like people like you that keep, even when I feel like we're just going to say the same shit again this week, even if like the podcast feels like it's the same run through the motions kind of thing, like with in terms of the way it's run under Steve Bruce and stuff like that. Even when I felt like that at times, it's been worth kind of still expressing my opinion, getting the podcast out for you people. And I feel like as people who like socialize with one on a daily basis through the Facebook page and through Twitter, I feel like I owe you that, just to tell you what's been going on and why kind of I wasn't available for the first week. Normal service will be resumed though, and I can only apologise, but a lot of shit was going on last week and I kind of wasn't in a headspace, but normal headspace will be resumed. But just to tribute Martin, big Newcastle fan, I loved him to death, man. I was fucking devastated I've lost him, mate. You were good friends with him as well, but
we're always chewing the fat about the struggles and the players and the transfers and trying to answer like questions and make sense of it all. But he was absolutely massive Newcastle supporter and a massive part of the page, mate. So he's going to be a huge miss.
He is going to be a huge miss, mate. Personally and from a football side, absolute gent, man. Honestly, absolutely fucking devastated. But it's I just want to end on saying rest in peace, mate, and obviously, hopefully Newcastle can get a win for you next week. And fly high, mate, fly high. But that's what I want to end the podcast on. We'll obviously leave. His normal service resume from next week. And catch you in a bit, everyone. See you next week.
Yeah, ciao.